Hello YouTube, my name is Ben Griffin and today we're going to be looking at the Leviathan. Now this is the Forza Horizon 4 Fortune Island's biggest race in terms of rally or cross country, one of the two. It's 12.2 miles long and most of the course is off-road. Quite a lot of it actually puts you very near the edge of quite large cliffs. So it is a really fun race. It's very technically challenging and it certainly has more of a focus on grip and handling than outright speed. So it's a very different proposition to the Goliath, which is the longest road race, or even the Kraken, which is Fortune Island's longest road race. But anyway, little pro tip before we start: if you want to know what car is good for a Rivals event or even just a tournament, go into Rivals, press Y to look at the leaderboard, and there you shall see the number one player. Usually, as you scroll down, there'll be one car that is in the top 10, maybe top 15, then you start to see other things. So using one of those cars is a good idea. If money's tight, then just pick the one that's cheapest. So in the case of the Leviathan, the Porsche Cayman is 85,500, something like that. So that is a cheap option. But I've gone for the 1.7 million Bugatti EB110. Now this thing is an interesting car because it has a 280-ish mile an hour top speed, and that's without using the stupid speed glitch. So it is quite a useful car. X-Class level, it's also a bit of a weapon. Certainly not a huge amount of horsepower and can be used for Goliath fairly effectively. But for some reason, it just works really well as a rally car, which makes absolutely no sense at all. But anyway, who cares? It seems to work thanks to however Turn 10 programmed the game and the physics and this car's stats. So I spent a little bit of time trying to get the best from this car. This wasn't too difficult because unlike at X-Class and some of the hypercars and supercars, I suppose this is an old supercar, but anyway, the newer hypercars and supercars, they have multiple engine swaps. This thing has two, and if you want to race in the Leviathan Rivals event, you need S1, and so that pretty much makes the W16 impossible. If you don't have all of the body weight reduction stuff and gimp the car quite heavily in a lot of areas, just make it really fat, then you can fit that engine. Although I'm not sure why you would, because as I shall now show you, it's not great. You have to have rubbish tyres, it weighs a lot more, it just doesn't like to grip on the road or on dirt or anywhere really. You can do it, I'm not really sure why. It certainly doesn't work for the Leviathan, but maybe that outright pace might come in handy for another stretch of rally or cross country, I don't know. But anyway, so you stick with the stock engine. The stock alloys are quite light, but you can save 6 kilograms if you whack on some custom ones. I avoid doing the oil and one of the other engine upgrades that adds weight because cars always benefit from being lighter, and I think in rally it helps especially. You want to be able to carry speed as much as you can, and actually at S1 level you're slightly limited in terms of what you can do. So given that you can't have all-out power, you may as well go for all-out grip. And grip is best served when you put less weight on the tyres, or certainly it seems to make the biggest difference in this game. In real life there are probably arguments that would go against that. Interestingly, all-wheel drive is actually less in terms of the points index, so I think that's better for rallies, or it's certainly better if you're not the best player, or you want to make life easy, or you want to guarantee a win against the unbeatable AI, because it's just easier to be consistent, you're much faster off the line, and to be fair, in this game, if you don't get ahead or first quite early on, there is a chance that the first and sometimes even second and third cars just disappear. I don't know what it is. There seems to be a cut-off point where the AI just destroys you, and as you'll see in a minute, my first attempt at this race means I come second. But then for the second race I make a few tweaks and I absolutely smash. Now you can use my tune to help you get through the unbeatable AI, as I just said, or you can try and do a decent lap in Rivals. I've not actually done my fastest lap without making one mistake, which is slightly annoying, but unfortunately you have to balance practice, tuning the cars and making the video, and as much as I'd love to do 50 laps of Leviathan, I say love, I mean that in the loosest sense of the word, it would obviously benefit my time, but it means making less content. So, I will tell you that with a mistake I got a 7:08, which I'm pretty proud of. I would have loved to have seen a sub 7, but I think I'm going to need to really invest a lot more time into the racing line and tuning the car, because it seems when I follow some of the top 5 players, they are just ballistic. I don't know what they've done in terms of getting that extra little few percent out of the car, but it seems to make a very big difference. Or I'm just cack-handed, but either way, you decide. Now you can save a lot of PI with this car if you go for various different tyres. So the stock ones obviously give you the most, and I found those a little easier to drive than the sport tyres, but my lap time was actually around the same. Neither lap was particularly perfect, but about a 7:30, 7:40 or so, without trying too hard. Now of course, if you go the stock or sport route, then you can slap on huge amounts of power, and that's good fun. But actually on loose surfaces, much of that power is lost when you try and accelerate. Now you could adjust the gears and shift the power to the front more than the rear, and that would help. And in fact, actually, if you fiddle around with that, you might get some quite interesting results. However, for all-out grip and ease of use, the snow/off-road tyres are best. They change name if it's winter or the other 3 seasons, basically, in case you're wondering. These tyres are just really effective. You can put power down much more effectively, and that means generally faster laps. In fact, you really only need to worry about your braking, getting the correct line, and it helps to time when you put the power on, because the EB110 is pretty nippy in first and second, so you really want to get that right, because you can make quite big gains just by maximising your exit speed as well as your racing line. Now you could put race tyres on, but there are a couple of reasons why that's a bad idea. One is that it gimps your PI quite considerably, so you're not going to get very much in the way of horsepower. And number 2, most of this circuit is dirt. So when you're tuning a car, you obviously want to maximise grip for the surface you see the most. At least that is one way of doing it. So for this course, I really do think prioritise an off-road car, and based on my testing, that seems to work fairly well, pretty damn well actually, on the road bits. Whereas if you made it for road only, you're just not going to really gain a huge amount of time, particularly in this car, on the tarmac bits, especially towards the end. That's quite a fast section, but you're only going to carry 15-20 miles an hour more through some of those corners, if that, and that doesn't make up for the rest of the rally sections. Now I'm going to show you the lap I did in the Bugatti. Hopefully you find it useful. What I would say is this lap was done with traction control off, racing line off, braking line off, stability control off, basically absolutely everything off, and I find that's pretty good for rally because you can get a feel for the car, and when it comes to tuning it, you've got a more unfiltered experience to work from. It does mean the learning curve is a little higher, but then Forza Horizon 4 has slightly arcadey handling, so you don't need to go too crazy with the setup. Stick on all-wheel drive and it's going to do you proud. Anyway guys, you can find all of these setups in the game. My gamer tag will be in the description, as well as the names of the tunes, but basically I'll put stock if it's the stock engine and various other bits, so have a look through. There will be a best version and hopefully you find it useful. So thank you again for watching. I hope you have a splendid week. There are many more videos on the way. Take care, bye.
I don't care what the title is anymore. It's you!